The transport shuttle bounced hard against the landing pad, throwing David Ross against his safety harness. He grabbed his toolkit and stepped out onto the surface of Talvos 7, a moon so remote that even pirates avoided it. Gray dust covered everything. The abandoned research station rose ahead like a metal skeleton, its towers bent and broken after 3 centuries of neglect. David had taken this job because the pay was good. The Galactic Salvage Guild wanted any technology worth recovering from this old Rivetti facility. The Rivetti Empire had fallen long ago, destroyed by rebellion and war crimes. Good riddance, David thought. Any civilization that built weapons for fun deserved what they got. He pushed through the rusted entrance. His scanner showed power signatures deep underground. Strange. Abandoned stations should be dead. David followed the readings down corridor after corridor, his boots crunching on debris. Emergency lights flickered red, barely functional. The deeper he went, the colder it became. The elevator shaft was broken, so David climbed down the maintenance ladder. His arms ached by the time he reached the lowest level. The power signature was stronger here, pulsing like a heartbeat. He found himself in a massive chamber carved from rock. And there, in the center, stood something impossible, a containment chamber. Still active, still glowing, David approached slowly. Through the transparent walls, he saw a creature that made his breath catch. It looked like a wolf, but wrong. Too big, way too big. The size of a shuttle. Metal plates covered its body, fused with flesh and fur. Scars crisscrossed its hide. Cables ran from the walls into its spine, pumping something blue and toxic into its system. The creature's eyes were closed, but its chest rose and fell. Alive. After all these years, somehow alive, his hands shook as he accessed the facility's main terminal. The screen was cracked, but readable. He scrolled through logs, his horror growing with each entry. Project Fenrir. Military bioweapon program. 12 specimens created. 11 terminated. 1 remaining. Unit 709. Designation: Fenrir-class war beast. Status: contained indefinitely. Reason: refused direct orders. Displayed unauthorized mercy protocols. Deemed defective. Scheduled for termination postponed due to facility evacuation. David read the last entry 3 times. They had left it here to die. Not because it was too violent, because it refused to be violent enough that he looked at the creature again. In the dim light, he could see its ribs through matted fur. The neural suppressors hummed, keeping it barely conscious. Torture disguised as containment. David had grown up on a frontier colony where people helped each other survive. His parents taught him that cruelty to anything that could suffer was wrong. It did not matter if that something was human or not. His fingers moved across the console before his brain caught up. Warnings flashed. Danger. Extreme threat level. Do not release. David ignored them all. He found a command sequence and started shutting down the systems one by one. The toxic drip stopped first. The creature's breathing changed, deepened. The neural suppressors powered down next. The cables detached with wet sounds that made David's stomach turn. Finally, the stasis field. He hesitated for just a moment, then hit the command. The field collapsed with a sound like breaking glass. The creature's eyes opened. They were gold, ancient and aware. They fixed on David with an intelligence that was definitely not animal. David stood frozen, suddenly understanding what he had done. This thing could tear him apart. It had been built to tear things apart. The war beast tried to stand. Its legs shook. 300 years in stasis had stolen its strength. It managed to rise halfway before collapsing back on a platform. A sound came from its throat. Not a growl. Something else. Something that sounded like pain. David's fear changed into something different. He knew that sound. He had made it himself once after his sister died. The sound of someone who had suffered too long that he grabbed his toolkit and ran to the medical systems. Most were offline, but he managed to restart the basic functions. Nutrient synthesizers, cell regenerators. The equipment was old Rivetti technology built to keep weapons functional. David rewired it, his hands steady now. He had fixed broken machines his whole life. This was just another repair job. except the machine was alive and watching him. "I'm David," he said, not knowing if it understood. "I'm going to help you, if you let me." The creature did not move. Those gold eyes tracked every motion. David found the neural control implants buried in its skull. Small chips designed to cause pain if the creature disobeyed commands. His jaw clenched. He pulled out his tools and started removing them. Carefully. One wrong move could kill IT. IT took an hour. The creature stayed perfectly still the entire time, even when David knew the procedure must hurt. When the last implant came free, the war beast closed its eyes. Its whole body relaxed for the first time. David discovered the food synthesizers next. He programmed them for high-protein sustenance and approached with a container. The creature's eyes opened again. It stared at the food, then at David. Suspicious. Waiting for the trick. "No trick," David said quietly. "Just food. You need it." The war beast leaned forward slowly and ate. Not frantically. With control. With dignity. When it finished, it looked at David again. Something passed between them in that moment. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. Then the alarm started screaming. David ran to the console. His heart sank. A ship had just entered orbit. Rivetti design. Old but functional. A message appeared on the screen. "Attention, salvager. You have discovered restricted property. Surrender unit 709 immediately or be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to comply." David looked at the creature. It was watching him, waiting to see what he would do. He thought about his parents, about the lessons they taught, about doing what was right even when it was hard. He hit the communications button. "No." The creature's ears perked up. "No," David repeated louder. "This isn't property, and I'm not handing anyone over." He turned to the war beast. "Can you move? We need to leave. Right now." The creature stood, shaky but standing. It looked at David with those ancient gold eyes, and slowly, deliberately, it nodded. Explosions shook the facility. Dust rained from the ceiling as David ran toward the elevator shaft, the massive war beast limping behind him. Each step the creature took echoed through the corridors like thunder. David could hear voices above. Rivetti soldiers already inside. "Climb," David said, pointing up the shaft. The creature looked at the ladder, then at its own massive body. It would never fit. David's mind raced. There had to be another way out. The war beast made a low sound and turned down a different corridor. David followed, confused but trusting. The creature stopped at a cargo lift, designed for moving heavy equipment. It was big enough. Barely. David hit the controls, and the platform groaned upward. They emerged into the main hangar, where David's salvage ship waited. 3 Rivetti soldiers stood between them and freedom. They wore armor painted with the old Empire symbols and carried plasma rifles. When they saw the war beast, they raised their weapons. "Unit 709, one soldier said. "Stand down. Return to containment." The creature's lips pulled back, showing teeth like knives. But it did not attack. It moved in front of David, shielding him with its body. The gesture was clear. Protective. "That thing is property of the remnant," the soldier shouted. "Step away from it." "Property." David stepped forward, anger burning through his fear. "That's a living being, not a weapon, not property." The soldier laughed. "Living? It's a war beast, created in a lab, designed to kill. That's all it knows." The war beast growled, a sound that vibrated in David's chest. The soldiers tensed. David put his hand on the creature's leg. The metal plates were warm under his palm. "If all it knows is killing," David said, "then why isn't it attacking? It could tear through all of you in seconds. But standing here, waiting, choosing. Last warning," the soldier said. "Move or die." The war beast lunged, but not to kill. It swept sideways, knocking the soldiers' weapons away with one massive paw. They scattered. The creature grabbed David gently in its jaws, armor and cloth, but no skin, and ran for the ship. David heard more soldiers entering the hangar. Gunfire sparked against the war beast's metal plating. They reached the ship. David hit the ramp control, and they rushed inside. The war beast was too large for the cargo bay. It wedged itself in half inside, half outside. David ran to the cockpit and fired the engines. The ship lifted. Something exploded nearby. A warning shot from the Rivetti ship in orbit. David pushed the throttle forward and the salvage ship shot upward, punching through Talvos 7's thin atmosphere. The war beast's claws scraped against the hull, holding on. "Just hold on," David whispered. "Please just hold on." The Rivetti cruiser loomed ahead, old and scarred but dangerous. Its weapons locked onto David's ship. A transmission came through. "This is Commander Voss of the Remnant Fleet. Cut your engines or be destroyed." David did not slow down. He angled for the hyperspace jump point, fingers dancing across the controls. The war beast was still clinging to the hull. David could see it through the rear camera. Those gold eyes looked directly at the camera lens. Directly at him. Trusting him. Plasma fire streaked past. David jerked the ship sideways. More fire. Closer. The ship's shields whined. He was almost at the jump point. Almost there, another blast hit the shields. They failed. The next shot would punch through the hull. David closed his eyes and activated the hyperdrive. The universe stretched. Colors blurred. The ship jumped into hyperspace with a war beast holding onto its exterior. An impossible thing. Nothing alive could survive hyperspace without a ship's protection field. The jump would tear it apart. David counted seconds. 10, 20, 30. The jump would last 5 minutes. He watched the rear camera, waiting for the war beast to let go. To lose its grip. To die.it did not let go. 0.5 minutes passed like 5 hours. The ship dropped out of hyperspace near a neutral trading station called Refuge Point. David immediately checked the camera. The war beast was still there. Still alive. Its metal plates glowed with strange light. The cybernetic implants across its body pulsed with energy. It should be dead. It was not. David guided the ship to a private hangar he could barely afford and sealed the bay door behind them. When he opened the cargo ramp, the war beast slid inside and collapsed. David ran to it, checking for injuries. Burns covered its hide. Frost crystals melted in its fur. But it was breathing. Alive. "How?" David whispered. "How did you survive that?" The creature's eyes opened. It looked at him with what David could only describe as amusement. As if to say, "I am full of surprises." David heard shouts outside the hangar. Station security. Other aliens who had seen the war beast. Fear traveled fast. He stood and walked to the hangar door controls, ready to explain, ready to defend. The war beast tried to stand but fell again. Too weak. An elderly alien with 4 arms pushed through the crowd. His species was called Drell, merchants and traders. This one wore simple robes and had kind eyes. "I am Barris," the alien said. "I saw what you did in orbit. Brave and foolish." "I'm not giving him up," David said. Barris smiled. "I'm not asking you to. Cool me. My warehouse has space. You both need rest and safety. Station security will come soon with many questions." David hesitated. Trust was dangerous, but so was everything else right now. "Why help us?" he asked. Barris looked at the war beast, then back at David. "Because 300 years ago, my grandfather was on a Rivetti world during the Empire's fall. Civilians were ordered executed. A war beast refused to kill them. It fought its own handlers instead. My family survived because of that creature's choice." He pointed at the war beast. "That one carries the same scars, the same marks. I know what it did, what it sacrificed. So yes, human, I will help." David felt something tight in his chest loosen. They were not alone anymore. Together, they helped the war beast to its feet and guided it deeper into Refuge Point, away from cameras and questions. To safety for now. But David knew this was not over. The remnant would not stop, and neither would he. Barris's warehouse smelled like 100 different worlds. Spices, metals, fabrics, all mixed together in organized chaos. The war beast lay on a cargo platform while David worked on its injuries. 3 days had passed since their escape. 3 days of hiding and healing. David cleaned the burns carefully. The war beast did not flinch, even when the medicine stung. Its tolerance for pain worried him. What had the Rivetti done to make it endure so much without reaction? "You saved my ship," David said quietly. "Thank you." The creature's ear twitched. It was listening. Always listening, Barris entered carrying supplies. Food for David, medical gel for the war beast. He set everything down and watched David work. You talk to it like it understands, Barris said. It does understand. I know it does. Then perhaps it is time for better communication. Barris pulled out a small device. A translator matrix, old but functional. The Rivetti equipped their war beasts with neural implants for many purposes. Control, pain, but also language processing. It understands every word we say. It simply has no way to respond. He connected the device to a portable screen. Lights and symbols appeared. Simple communication tools. David held the screen toward the war beast. Can you use this? The creature looked at the screen for a long moment. Then, slowly, it lifted one massive paw. A single claw extended. It tapped the screen. Light flickered. A word appeared. Yes. David's breath caught. Barris smiled. Try asking its name? The merchant said. David swallowed hard. Do you have a name? Beyond the unit number they gave you. The claw moved again, tapping carefully. The war beast was not used to this kind of interface. It took time, but eventually, letters formed. Ash. Ash, David repeated. The name fit. Something that survived fire. Something that endured. Hello, Ash, he said. I'm glad I found you. More tapping. Ash glad too. They talked through the device for hours. David asked questions. Ash answered. The story that emerged made David's blood run cold. Ash was created in a laboratory, grown from modified genetics and mechanical parts. The scientist who made Ash was kind of first. Gave Ash the name. Taught Ash to think. But the Empire found out and executed the scientist for treating a weapon like a person. After that, Ash was trained to kill. To follow orders without question. To be perfect. But Ash kept asking why. Why kill? Why destroy? The Rivetti did not like questions. They punished Ash. Sent Ash to battlefields to learn obedience through blood. It did not work. During the Empire's collapse, Ash was ordered to eliminate civilians. Refugees who were running from a war. Ash refused. Attacked its handlers instead. Saved thousands of people. The Rivetti called it malfunction. Called it defective. They locked Ash away and forgot. David wiped his eyes. He was not ashamed of the tears. You did the right thing. Ash's claw hovered over the screen. Then tapped. Does right thing always hurt? Yeah, David said. Usually it does. Then why do it? David thought about his parents. About the colony. About every hard choice he ever made. Because if we don't, we lose ourselves. We become the things we fear. Ash stared at him. Understanding passed between them again. This time, deeper, Barris interrupted. David, we have a problem. He activated a monitor. News feeds from across the sector filled the screen. Ash's face appeared on everyone. The Rivetti remnant had issued a bounty. 1 million galactic credits for the return of Unit 709. Dead or alive. But there was more. A Galactic Council enforcement ship was also headed to Refuge Point. They had received reports of a dangerous war beast. They were coming to contain it. We are trapped between two forces, Barris said. The remnant wants Ash as property. The Council wants Ash as a threat. Neither will listen to reason. David stood. Then we run. To where? The bounty will follow. The Council has jurisdiction everywhere. Ash tapped the screen. No run. Fight. You can't fight the whole galaxy, David said. Fought before. Lost before. We'll lose again. But we'll not run. There has to be another way. Ash's golden eyes met his. David gave Ash freedom. Ash will protect David freedom. That is fair. Before David could respond, alarms blared across the station. Barris checked his communication device and cursed in his own language. Both ships have arrived. Council forces are docking at the main port. Remnant forces are cutting through the outer hull. They are coming. David grabbed his toolkit. Ash stood, still weak but determined. Barris moved to the warehouse exit and locked it. I can buy you minutes, the merchant said. Maybe an hour. Use it well. Come with us, David said. Someone must stay to confuse them. Go. There is a service tunnel behind the east wall. It leads to the lower docking bays. Small ships only. Smuggler territory. David wanted to argue. There was no time. He pressed his hand to Barris's shoulder. Thank you. Thank the creature. Barris said. It showed my family mercy when the Empire would not. Now I return the debt. Go! David and Ash ran. The tunnel was narrow and dark. Ash had to crouch to fit. They could hear weapons fire behind them. Shouting, the sounds of a station tearing itself apart, they emerged in the lower bays. Small ships lined the docks, most illegal, all fast. David picked one that looked space-worthy and broke the lock with his tools. Ash squeezed into the cargo hold. The fit was tight. David fired the engines. The bay doors ahead were closed. Behind them, soldiers appeared. Council enforcers in blue armor. Remnant troops in black. Both sides saw them. Both sides opened fire. David pushed the throttle to maximum. The ship shot forward. He aimed for the bay doors and prayed. The ship hit the doors going full speed. Metal screamed. The doors buckled and exploded outward. They were through. Into space. Into the dark. But this time, both forces were following. Council ships. Remnant ships. All converging. Ash tapped something against the hull. A rhythm. David recognized it. A heartbeat. Steady. Unafraid. I know, David said. We'll figure this out. Together. He set course for the one place that might listen. The one place where laws were made. The Galactic Council headquarters on the core worlds. If they wanted to judge Ash, they could do it properly. In the open. Where everyone could see the truth. The journey to the core worlds took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of Ash and David learning to exist in a space barely big enough for one. The ship's life support struggled with Ash's size. Food ran low, but they managed. They always managed. David taught Ash games. Simple ones, using the communication screen. Ash won most of them, which made David laugh. The war beast had a sharp mind trapped in that massive body. They shared stories. David talked about his colony, his family, his sister who died when the medicine shipments did not arrive in time. Ash shared memories of the scientist who created it. A woman named Dr. Reed who sang while she worked. Who told Ash that being strong meant choosing when not to fight. She sounds wise, David said. Ash tapped the screen. She was first friend. You were second. David felt the weight of that. To be someone's second friend across 300 years of existence. It was an honor and a tragedy. They dropped out of hyperspace near Sanctuary Prime, the core world where the Galactic Council met. The planet glowed blue and green, beautiful and terrifying. 50 warships surrounded it, defense fleets, and somewhere among them, the Council enforcers who had chased them. The remnant ships that wanted Ash back. The transmission came through before David could even announce himself. A voice, female, with the precise tone of authority. Unidentified vessel. This is Commander Pell of the Council Enforcement Division. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. David took a breath. This is David Ross. I'm requesting asylum and a formal hearing before the Galactic Council. For myself and my companion. Silence. Then, your companion is a Class 7 bioweapon. We do not grant hearings to weapons. Ash is not a weapon. Ash is a person. More silence. David could imagine the confusion on the other end. The disbelief. Finally, Commander Pell spoke again. You will be taken into custody. Both of you. If you resist, we will use force. We're not resisting. But I want that hearing. I want the council to see the truth. Truth is not my concern. Law is. Stand by. A council ship approached. Large, official, with enough firepower to vaporize David's stolen smuggler craft. David looked back at Ash. The war beast was calm, ready for whatever came next. You don't have to do this, David said. We could run. Try to hide somewhere. Ash tapped the screen. No more hiding. Time for truth. The council ship docked with theirs. Soldiers entered, weapons ready. They were Celtari, a species with blue skin and 3 eyes. Professional. Careful. They stopped when they saw Ash. Commander Pell entered behind them. She was tall for a Celtari, with scars across her face that spoke of real combat experience. She looked at Ash for a long moment, then at David. You freed this creature? She asked. I free my friend, David said. Do you understand what it was created to do? The wars it fought, the deaths it caused. I understand what it refused to do. The lives it saved, the choice it made. Commander Pell studied him. You are either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. She almost smiled. Almost. You'll come with us. The council will decide your fate. But I warn you, engineer, the law is clear. Bioweapons do not receive rights, do not receive trials. They are contained or destroyed. Nothing you say will change that. Then the law is wrong, David said simply. They were taken to a detention facility on Sanctuary Prime. Not a prison exactly, more like a waiting area for those whose fate was being decided. David and Ash were kept in a large containment cell. Force fields instead of bars. Cameras watching every move point. 3 days passed. David paced. Ash watched. They used the communication screen to talk, but guards monitored everything. Privacy was gone. Freedom was gone. All they had was each other. On the 4th day, Commander Pell returned. She entered the cell alone, which surprised David. Brave or foolish, like she said. I have been reviewing records, she said without preamble. Old Rivetti files, battle reports, incident logs. She looked at Ash. Unit 709 was deployed in 47 combat operations. Kill count, 0. David blinked. 0. It destroyed equipment, disabled vehicles, incapacitated soldiers, but never killed. Not once. Every battle, it found ways to win without taking life. She paused. That should be impossible for a weapon designed to kill. Ash's tail moved slightly. A small wag. Pride. There is more, Pell continued. During the Rivetti collapse, Unit 709 went rogue, but not to cause destruction. It defended civilian evacuation zones, carried wounded to safety, stood between refugees and execution squads. She looked at her datapad. Estimated lives saved, 12,000 for 118. David felt his throat tighten. 12,000 people. Ash had never mentioned the number, had never bragged. It was just what needed to be done. Why are you telling us this? David asked. Commander Pell deactivated her datapad. Because I enforce laws, but I also believe in justice. And I am not certain the two are the same in this case. She moved closer to Ash. The war beast did not move, did not threaten, just watched with those ancient gold eyes. I lost my daughter in a raid, Pell said quietly. Pirates. They took her and others to sell as slaves. I hunted them for months. When I found them, my daughter was already dead, but the other captives were alive, saved by something the pirates feared. A monster, they said, a beast that attacked them in the dark and freed the prisoners. She touched the scars on her face. The freed captives described their rescuer. Metal plates, golden eyes, massive size. I thought it was legend, trauma making them see things. But now, looking at you, she stared at Ash. It was you. You saved those people. You saved the ones I could not. Ash tapped the screen slowly. I am sorry about your daughter. Pell's 3 eyes glistened. As am I. She stepped back, professional again. The council hearing is tomorrow. I will testify, but I must warn you, most council members will not care about stories or mercy. They care about law, about precedent, about fear. Then will change their minds, David said. How? David looked at Ash. By telling the truth. All of it. And letting them see what I see. Commander Pell nodded once. Then prepare well. Engineer. Tomorrow, you face the most powerful beings in the galaxy. And they are not known for their compassion. She left. The cell door sealed. David sat next to Ash, his back against the war beast's side. The metal plates were warm. Alive. Whatever happens tomorrow, David said, I'm glad I found you. Ash's screen lit up. I am glad you found me too. Thank you for seeing me as more than weapon. You were never a weapon, David said. You were always more. The council chamber was the largest room David had ever seen. 200 species, 200 representatives, all gathered in a circular arena that rose toward a domed ceiling. Light poured through crystal windows. Everything was designed to make visitors feel small. It worked. David and Ash stood in the center. Guards surrounded them, weapons ready. Above, the council members watched from their elevated seats. Some looked curious. Most looked afraid. A few looked angry. The chancellor presided from the highest seat. He was Corvin, an insectoid species known for their logic and rigid thinking. His voice echoed through the chamber. We are gathered to determine the status of Unit 709. a Rivetti bioweapon currently in unauthorized possession of David Ross, human engineer. The charges are theft of restricted property, endangerment of civilian populations, and violation of the Bioweapon Containment Act. David's hands clenched. They made it sound like he was the criminal. Before we proceed, the Chancellor continued, General Voss of the Rivetti Remnant has invoked salvage rights. He claims Unit 709 as legal property of his government. A figure rose from the lower seats. General Voss, dressed in black armor decorated with the old Empire symbols. He was human, which somehow made it worse. A human who wanted to own another thinking being. Unit 709 was created by the Rivetti Empire, Voss said. That makes it our property under established salvage laws. We demand its immediate return. It's not property, David shouted. Ash is alive. Ash thinks, feels, chooses. It is a weapon, Voss snapped. Created in a laboratory. It has no rights. Neither did clones once, David shot back. Neither did synthetic beings. Neither did half the species in this room before laws changed. Rights aren't about how you're born. They're about who you are. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Chancellor raised one claw for silence. The human makes an interesting point. However, law requires evidence. Commander Pell, you requested to testify. Speak. Pell stepped forward. She looked small in this massive space, but her voice was strong. I have reviewed Unit 709's complete history. Every battle record. Every incident report. This creature was created to kill. It never did. It was ordered to execute civilians. It refused and protected them instead. It was imprisoned for showing mercy. She turned to face the council. I enforce your laws, but I also ask, what are we protecting? If we declare that a being with intelligence, with compassion, with choice, is just a weapon because of how it was made, then what does that say about us? It says we are practical, another council member said. A Drellian, heavy-set and skeptical. That creature is dangerous. What happens when it decides to stop being peaceful? What happens when any of us decide that? David asked. You all have weapons. You all have power. The difference is choice. Ash has chosen peace. Repeatedly. For 300 years. Enough speeches, Voss interrupted. Unit 709 is property. The law is clear. Return it to us and end this circus. The Chancellor looked down at Ash. Does the subject have anything to say? Ash stepped forward. Guards tensed. Weapons tracked the war beast's movement. David held his breath. This was it. The moment that mattered. Ash tapped the communication screen that David held. Words appeared on the large displays around the chamber. I was made to be a weapon. I was trained to kill. I refused. The chamber went silent. I was punished. Imprisoned. Left to die. I survived. Ash moved closer to the Chancellor's seat. The guards raised weapons. The Chancellor waved them back. I do not want revenge. I do not want power. I want only to choose my own path. More tapping. I was made to be loyal to masters. I choose to be loyal to friends. That is the difference between slavery and freedom. The words hung in the air. David saw something change in the faces above. Not all of them, but some. Doubt. Consideration. The beginning of understanding. Then Voss moved. His hand went to a device on his belt. Enough of this. He pressed a button. Ash screamed. The sound was terrible, inhuman, full of agony. The war beast collapsed, body convulsing. Smoke rose from its neural implants. Override code, Voss said. Built into every Fenrir unit. Complete control. Stop. David ran to Ash, but guards held him back. You're killing him, Voss corrected. And I'm demonstrating what happens when weapons are given freedom. They malfunction. Ash writhed on the ground. The pain was extreme. David could see it in every movement. But Ash did not attack, did not lash out. Even in agony, even with every nerve on fire, the war beast did not become a monster they claimed it was. Please, David begged the council. Stop him. This is torture. The Chancellor stood. General Voss, cease immediately. This is a hearing, not an execution. This is a demonstration, Voss said. But he released the button. Ash lay still, breathing hard. Smoke drifted from burned fur. David finally broke free from the guards and ran to his friend. He put his hands on Ash's side. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm here." Ash's eyes opened, looked at David. Then, slowly the war beast stood, shaking, weak, but standing. Ash looked at Voss. The general smiled, confident. "You see, it obeys. Because it is a weapon. A tool." Ash tapped the screen again. Each letter took effort. Pain clear in every movement. "I could have attacked. I could have killed. I chose not to. That is not obedience. That is choice." Commander Pell moved forward. "Chancellor, I must formally object. General Voss has demonstrated torture, not control. He has proven the opposite of his point. Unit 709 had every reason to attack and chose restraint." "Agreed," the Chancellor said. His voice was different now, thoughtful. "General Voss, you are removed from these proceedings." Guards escort him out. Voss sputtered protests as guards led him away. The Chancellor looked at Ash for a long moment. "This council must vote. The question before us is simple. Is Unit 709 a sentient being deserving of rights? Or is it property to be contained?" "There is a third option," a new voice said. A council member David had not noticed before. "An ancient being, species unknown. We could ask Unit 709 what it wants." The Chancellor nodded slowly. "Very well. Unit 709, what do you desire?" Ash typed carefully. David read the words aloud as they appeared. "I desire freedom. Not freedom from consequences. Not freedom without responsibility. Simply the freedom to choose who I am. To help who I wish. To live without chains. To be more than what I was made to be." The chamber was silent. Then the Chancellor spoke. "We will vote. All in favor of granting full sentient rights to Unit 709, indicate now." Lights appeared above the seats. One by one. Some yes, some no. David counted. His heart pounded. It was close. So close, the final count appeared. 103 for, 97 against. "The motion passes," the Chancellor said. "Unit 709 is hereby granted full sentient rights under Galactic Council law. All claims of property are void. All bounties are rescinded." David's legs gave out. He sat hard on the floor, tears streaming. Ash leaned down, massive head next to David's. The communication screen showed 2 words that we won. 6 months after the trial, David sat on the porch of a small house watching 2 suns set over the valley. The planet was called Haven's Rest, a frontier world where questions were few and acceptance was common. The house was not much. 2 rooms, a workshop, and enough land for privacy. It was perfect. Ash lay nearby, stretched out in the grass like a mountain of metal and fur. The war beast had grown stronger since the trial. The burns healed. The scars faded. More importantly, the weight of 300 years seemed lighter. Ash looked peaceful in a way David had never seen before. A ship appeared in the sky. Small, unarmed, with council markings. It landed in the clearing behind the house. Commander Pell stepped out, alone. "I hope I'm not intruding," she said. "You're always welcome," David replied. "Want some tea?" They sat together on the porch while Ash dozed. Pell sipped her tea and looked out at the valley. "The council asked me to check on you both," she said. "Official follow-up. Making sure the transition to freedom is going well." "And unofficially?" David asked. Pell smiled. "Unofficially, I wanted to see how you were doing. After everything you went through, you both deserved peace." "We're finding it," David said. Slowly, Ash stirred and lifted their head, tapped the communication screen that now hung on a chain around their neck. A custom modification David had built. "Commander Pell. Good to see you. And you, Ash." Pell set down her tea. "I actually came with a proposal. Not from the council. From me." She pulled out a data pad. "There are others like you. Not war beasts, but beings trapped by their creation. Lab-grown soldiers. Synthetic workers. Clones deemed property. They heard about your trial. About your freedom. They want help." "Help how?" Ash typed. "By showing them it's possible. By speaking for those who can't speak for themselves. By being proof that creation doesn't define destiny." She looked at David. "Both of you changed laws that had stood for centuries. You could change more." David felt the weight of that. They just found peace. Going back into the fight, meant risking it all again. We don't have to decide now, Pell said. Think about it. Talk about it. But know that what you did mattered. It's still mattering. Every day, someone somewhere points to your case and says, if a war beast can be free, why not me? She finished her tea and stood. I'll leave this data pad. It has information about the cases, the beings who need help. If you decide you want to continue this work, contact me. If you decide you want to live quietly, I understand that too. You've earned that right. She walked back to her ship. Before boarding, she turned. Thank you for showing me that my job isn't just enforcing laws. It's questioning them when they're wrong. The ship lifted off and disappeared into the sky. David looked at Ash. What do you think? He asked. Ash was quiet for a long moment. Then typed slowly that I was prisoner for 300 years. I know what captivity feels like. If others are trapped, how can I rest? We just got free ourselves, David said. We're allowed to rest. To heal. Ash's golden eyes met his. We can rest later. Right now, others need what we have. What's that? Proof that freedom is possible. David thought about his parents, about the lessons they taught him, about doing what was right even when it was hard. He thought about Barris, who helped them because someone helped his family, about Commander Pell, who changed her mind because she saw the truth, about the ripples that one choice could make. Okay, he said, but we do it together, and we do it smart. No more running into danger without thinking. Ash's tail wagged. Agreed. We are team now. They spent the evening reading through the cases on the datapad. 15 beings currently classified as property. 30 more in legal limbo. Hundreds more too afraid to come forward. Each one a person denied personhood. Each one waiting for someone to care. David made a list. Priorities, strategies, resources they would need. Ash offered input through the screen, military tactical knowledge combined with hard-won wisdom. They worked until the moons rose, planning their next move. Over the following months, they traveled. David took engineering jobs to fund their work. Ash came along, no longer hidden but acknowledged. At first, people stared, whispered, feared. But David and Ash kept showing up, kept being kind, kept proving that different did not mean dangerous. They found the first case on Pell's list. A synthetic worker named Unit 217 designed for mining operations. The company that made Unit 217 was shutting down and planned to destroy all synthetic workers rather than free them. David argued the case before a local magistrate. Ash stood as living proof that created beings deserved rights. They won. Unit 217 chose a name. Beth. She chose freedom. More cases followed. A clone soldier who deserted rather than fight in an unjust war. A bioengineered translator who wanted to study poetry. A modified human who was technically property of a research corporation. Each case was different. Each battle was hard. But slowly, steadily, they won more than they lost. Word spread. The human engineer and the war beast who fought for freedom. Some praised them. Some cursed them. David got threats. Ash faced protesters who wanted all war beasts destroyed. They kept going. 2 years after the trial, David and Ash returned to Haven's Rest for a break. The house was still there. The valley still peaceful. But they were different now. Stronger. More certain of their purpose. They sat on the porch watching the sunset. Ash's screen glowed in the fading light. Oh, you ever regret freeing me? All this trouble we face, David laughed. Every day. And I'd do it again every day. Why? Because you're my friend. Because what we're doing matters. Because someone has to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. He leaned against Ash's side. And because you taught me something important. What is that? That loyalty isn't about chains or programming or debt. Real loyalty is choice. You choose to fight beside me. I choose to fight beside you. That's worth any trouble. Ash's tail wagged slowly. You are wise for a human. You're pretty smart for a war beast. I am not war beast anymore. I am just Ash. No, David said. You're Ash. My friend. My partner. The being who changed the galaxy by refusing to be what others made you. They sat in comfortable silence as the stars appeared. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new fights, new challenges. But tonight they had this. peace and friendship, and the knowledge that they were making a difference. Ash's screen lit up one more time. Thank you for seeing me when no one else would. Thank you for trusting me when you had every reason not to, David replied. The universe was vast, full of injustice and pain and beings who needed help, but was also full of possibility, full of people who chose kindness, full of friendships that transcended creation and species and fear. David and Ash would keep fighting, keep winning, keep proving that freedom was a right, not a privilege. That choice mattered more than programming. That loyalty freely given was stronger than any chain. And somewhere in the galaxy, others watched and hoped. Because if a human engineer could free an ancient war beast, and if that war beast could choose compassion over violence, then maybe, just maybe, anything was possible. The two friends sat together under alien stars, different but united, proof that the best bonds are forged not by force but by choice. And that was the truest loyalty of all.